This is The Recap, a weekly reflections on the sermons of Fellowship Baptist Church in Mainville, Ohio, seeking to help you make Jesus essential in every aspect of your life. I'm your host, Brent Wilson, here with the preacher of this week's sermon, Ryan Land. Ryan, welcome back to Switching Chairs.
Thanks. How's it feel?
I love this chair. I think it's because I like to see the door. I don't know.
Like if someone were to bust into the
I'm
room,
ready.
you'd be the first to know.
I'm ready.
They'd get a hot chocolate to the
That's
face.
right. Boom.
Brent is off the coffee train. Update from last week. Brent is off the coffee train.
But it's because not enough sugar here in the office. Only artificial sweetener.
That's true.
So I need about a gallon of sugar to pour into it.
I said there's creamer in here, and Brent's. What did you say when I said there's creamer?
I said that's only a third of what I need.
No, you said that's only half the recipe.
Yeah,
it's like so. Coffee is less than a half of the recipe for your coffee.
Yep. That's true.
Half creamer,
half sugar,
half 1/4.
Sugar is probably the most, like 70% sugar.
See, I sometimes put sugar in my coffee if it's like really bitter, but it doesn't like sugar, real sugar, not like artificial sweeteners. Barely.
That's why I put so much in it. I need one of the things where I can just pour.
Oh yeah, like in a coffee shop, they have like the big thing. Yeah. No, for sure.
So, all right, Ryan, you preached this week, but we're going to break the ice.
Yeah. Can I say something really quick?
I guess.
You know what I like most about
Listen, who's hosting this podcast?
You know what I like most about preaching?
What?
Is on the recap, I get to goof off during the intro like you do when I do the intro. So I get to like point at the mug at the camera, point at the camera and stuff. So I like that.
All right.
Top 3 things about preaching, honestly.
Well, we'll talk about that later. Icebreaker. You talked about, use this rabbit illustration at the beginning. Talked about how sin like spreads like a wildfire. So we're gonna flip that for the
like
icebreaker.
A rabbit fire.
Oh, rabid
fire.
So we're gonna flip that positively for our icebreaker. What is something positive that you learned about, or gain of, it doesn't have to be like a fact, like a game or a genre or a thing that you were introduced to that spread or took over much of your life and thinking and
there's
love.
There's such a clear answer in my life.
Oh, okay.
And it's when I was probably a senior in high school, maybe it was in between high school and college, the summer in between. I played for the first time Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
And I played with a couple friends that I knew, and the in between there and now, I don't know, because we play monthly now instead of weekly. But I mean, there for a while, if you counted just between that and probably the next 5 years of my life, there were more weeks that I played D&D than weeks I didn't. Because, I mean, we played every week consistently for like 5 years in a row. And so, but it's like I had other friends, like we invited new friends to play. We had multiple games going at sometimes. I mean, for like 18 years, I'd never played. And then
playing catch up.
And then it's like that, my first time I played, and that just never stopped. And it took over multiple facets of my life. Financially, there's a time aspect.
But Ryan, shouldn't Christians not be playing Dungeons?
No, they should be. Hear me say this. My hot take.
Take
should
alarm.
Play in the same way. Me and John Gannon had a brief conversation about this once, about how reading fiction, and particularly like science fiction or fantasy, builds a theological imagination in your life, right? Like you can imagine what like some of God's power is like because your imagination has been stretched by science fiction. In the same way, I think D&D makes you a very empathetic person because you have to step into the shoes. You don't just experience like a story like via characters, you become character in the story. And so you have to learn how to inhabit someone else's point of view, someone else's perspective. And so I think it really helps you become a very empathetic person. That's my hot take.
Okay.
So don't not play D&D. Do play D&D.
Play D&D.
What's yours? What would you say?
Mine's interesting. I don't know that I have just one, because one of the things about my personality is it's very like when I decide I'm into something.
You're ADHD.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
And so
you're 100% into something for short spurts of time.
That's true. There are some things that have persisted.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was introduced to C.S. Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
that has persisted and still in. For a while in my life it was disc golf. Right, so I got into disc golf and I was playing all the time. Love disc golf. Probably another big one for me is like just like fantasy in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
were you like into fantasy like as a kid?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, like I mean, we in public school we were to read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in 5th grade. I wasn't into it.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I don't think I read it. I think I just kind of like goofed off or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know really what. Well, actually, I think my first probably introduction book wise was probably Aragon. And
not Aragorn, son of Arathorn.
No,
Aragon, Christopher Paolini.
Yeah,
Dragon
Riders.
Yeah.
So probably something like that. Star Wars. I mean, I was into Star Wars as a kid.
Yeah. See, that was the thing. Like for me, like I was always into fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, because the Lord of the Rings movies were coming out when I was growing up, and so like I was 6 when the first one came out, and so like I was always kind of into that. I was always kind of into Star Wars, so that's why when you were like, "What's something that?"
Yeah.
It's like, but for you, it's like you weren't into fantasy, and then something happened.
Yeah, I was too much like bouncing back and forth between being a redneck and a jock.
Yeah, you were. See, I was not. There was no pretense in my life that I was a jock or anything. I'm a nerd. I've always been a nerd.
Yeah, I came to nerd
like
later.
I got a swirly once. That's how much of a nerd I am. I got swirly. I never got stuffed in a locker, but I did get a swirly.
Yeah, I hear that. That's crazy.
You probably would have given me a swirly if we had known each other in 2004 or whatever.
Yeah, that's probably true. I never gave anyone a swirly. I did throw some kids up against lockers and gave them purple Nurples until they could name 5 cereals. But
did you ever do like what's the thing where you do it on their head like
a noogie?
A noogie.
Oh yeah, that hurts.
It does hurt.
I don't like that. Or an Indian bird.
Native American bird.
Native American bird. Oh gosh, that's funny. Yeah. So nerd later in life, and
we have to make all of our like bullying terms
politically correct. It's okay to do the bullying.
There's a sketch in there somewhere. Yeah, it's like it's okay to do the bullying, but it's like be tolerant when you're doing it.
That's hilarious.
It's like the person you're giving the burn to is like, bro, you can't call it that.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, just love being a nerd. Here's the other thing. Here's the non-nerd thing this was for me. Early American history. Inspired by watching Hamilton. So get super into Hamilton.
Yeah.
And then that spirals into just being fascinated about early American history.
And now you're like reading books about Ohio in the 1800s or whatever.
Yeah. And reading biographies and getting in all that. And so that's fun.
I was watching a pastor do an interview the other day, but we'll talk about the sermon at some point, I guess. But he had like a presidential biography behind him on like a bookshelf, and I was like, man, I want to be like the presidential biography guy, you know? So I think I have a Washington biography. I just haven't started it.
Oh, I've not done a Washington one. That'd be good.
You want it?
Maybe.
I think I've had it for several years, never cracked it. So
now, but you are a guy who can name all the presidents in order.
I can.
I cannot.
Yeah.
So that's impressive.
And we'll start it right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you have to sing them?
I have to sing the song. Yeah. It's like, how there's people that have to like sing the ABCs. It's like what letter does J come after?
Yeah.
It's like they got to sing the whole thing. That's how I am with the presidents.
But here's the funny thing about the ABCs. You know how like if you get pulled over and you're like suspected of drinking?
If they told me to do it backwards.
I don't think I could do it sober.
I can't. Z, Y, X, W.
You're further than I got.
I don't know. I don't even know if that's correct.
Yeah, it's like bad test.
Yeah, it's like I promise I'm not drunk. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and the ABCs are the same thing.
I learned that recently.
Same melody.
Learned that recently,
yeah. One of your kids was like, you got this little piano thing at your house, and they were playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I was like, oh, you're playing me the ABCs? And they're like, no, it's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And I was like, you didn't sing. How am I supposed to know? It's the same notes.
That's funny. All right. Well, you preached this week on Absalom. And the story really goes about 5 chapters long.
Mm-hmm.
So give me, just story tell me real quick. Give me the Cliff Notes version of, give me the whole story.
Okay. So this is like chapter 13 to 18. Starts out, you meet three new characters, Absalom, Tamar, and Amnon. Absalom and Tamar are full siblings. They have the same mother. Amnon is their half-brother, but they're all children of David. Amnon loves, the text says loves Tamar, but what you find out is he actually just wants to have sex with her. And so in the same way that David just saw Bathsheba, wanted her, and then brought her to the house and had his way with her, Amnon does the same thing with Tamar,
his sister,
his half-sister. And as soon as he does that, he kind of disposes of her. He's like, he's over it. It actually says after that happens, he hates her. She is like forced to live a life of kind of like embarrassment and shame. Her brother Absalom is very unhappy about this. He's also the heir. He's like the first in line to become king. So 2 years go by, and he's been planning a way to kill Amnon, and eventually does it. So him and some of his other brothers kill Amnon. David banishes Absalom from Jerusalem. He has to go live somewhere else. Eventually, David gets kind of tricked in like a similar way that Nathan confronts him and is like, you were the man. Kind of gets tricked into letting Absalom move back to Jerusalem. Absalom comes back to Jerusalem for a while, but him and David don't talk. But he starts to get very popular in Jerusalem. It talks about how he's tall, he's handsome, he promises the people what they want. He has this long head of hair. And then eventually he moves out of Jerusalem back to the town where David was anointed king initially. I think it's Hebron. Is that right? I can't remember.
David was anointed?
Not anointed, but crowned king of Judah.
I don't remember where he was.
It was one of those, I think it's Hebron, but I can't remember. He moves there and kind of starts amassing a force. And again, long time goes by. And eventually he moves on Jerusalem, takes all the men that are loyal to him to Jerusalem. David is forced to flee his palace in Jerusalem. Absalom takes over, for all intents and purposes, is ruling on the throne in Jerusalem, and takes all of David's wives and concubines. He even builds himself a statue in this sort of cemetery of kings, because he knows if I get deposed, then I still want people to remember me. Eventually, he decides to go out and fight David head to head. There's some sort of palace intrigue going on. There's some people inside of Absalom's tent. I said tent, I meant camp. In Absalom's camp that are actually working for David, and they sort of trick him and into trying to face David head on. They go to war. They fight in the forests of Ephraim, which is helpful for David's men who are sort of used to this guerrilla warfare. And some of them find Absalom. He tries to run away, gets his head stuck in a tree. One of David's generals named Joab comes, and despite David's warning to kill Absalom, stabs him in the heart 3 times, and then gets the rest of his men to beat him dead. Then Absalom dies. They bring back the news to David. David grieves his son, and then eventually moves back to finish his rule in Jerusalem.
Got it.
There you go.
Boom. I turned the heat down because I was getting hot.
You're getting warm?
Yeah.
People on the was like, is Brent bored?
I was cold when I walked in here.
Now the heat's been on. You're drinking your hot chocolate.
Now I'm roasting.
You got your sleeves up.
Okay, so that's helpful. One of the things you talked about was
now I'm taking my jacket off.
Oh yeah, that's nice. One of the things you talked about was this idea of private sins, that we think our sins just affect us. It's just kind of this very individualistic picture. We were joking earlier about, you said it's almost like everyone thinks they're on their own little island, and what they do just affects them. And it's like, really, we're all in the water together. And I joked and said, yeah, it's like when you pee in the water, it gets on everybody.
Yeah.
And so why do we so often believe this lie, do you think? Like, where does this come from, that my sin it's just really about me? It only hurts me. It doesn't hurt anybody else. It's just individual.
Yeah. I think 2 things. One very old, one very new. The the very old thing is we just always downplay sin in whatever way we can. And so you go back to the garden, and the reason Eve eats the fruit is because she convinces herself in some way that's actually not that big of a deal. That or God doesn't like want the best for her or whatever. And so we think sin is not as bad as we think it is. And so I think everyone does that. I think it's in our fallen state, it's human nature to do that. But secondly, I think the new thing, and when I say new, I don't mean like in the last 10 years. I mean like in the last 200 years or 300 years, is you do have this rise of individualism, like you said. And we think no longer in categories, like meta categories in our brain, as communities or as even as families, but we think of our lives as individuals. And so we can think whatever we want, we can say whatever we want, we can do whatever we want because we are our own person, right? We have our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own ability to do things, and so we can just do them, right? And so this is like very modern Western philosophical movement. Like you think of like Descartes, John Locke, things like that. People like thinkers like that. Is that you are you, and other is other. And it's funny, you think of the very first question of the Westminster Catechism is like totally opposite of this. It's like, what's your only hope in life? Well, it's that you're not your own and you belong to God. And so there's a clash here in Christianity when we think, oh, even when I'm disobedient, it only affects me, right? Because if the sin is secret, if the sin is private, and so it can, even if it's affecting anyone, it's only affecting me. And that's just not the case. And we see that in this story, that David's sin is pretty private in chapter 11 and 12. But obviously some people like Nathan figures it out and stuff like that. So the people like the peeing in the pool illustration, the people immediately around him, closest to him, his children, his wives, they are drastically affected by his sin. And then, even people further out, than that, they may not be affected as much, but they are affected. Yeah. And so there are just things on subtle levels that when you are specifically in habits of sin, but also just sin in general, is affecting your relationships with people. It's affecting your relationship with God, how you think, how you process information. There's so many things about us that we aren't even aware of that are shaped by the things we do or don't do.
Yeah, that's good. I think there are two kinds of people. There are people who pee in the pool, and there are people who lie about peeing in the pool.
Hey, and one's a sin, and one's just annoying.
That's right. We'll let you determine which. Okay, so sin is, it hurts everyone around us on different levels and affects everybody. You kind of see this idea of generational sin. Where, you just have these patterns. You see a little bit in David, you get sexual sin, it gets... you see it in the next generation. You see it in the next generation with Solomon.
Well, it's funny. You see both sides of David's sin in chapter 12 or chapter 11 in Absalom and Amnon. Because you have Amnon has the sexual sin with his sister, but then Absalom has the murderous sin because then David murders Uriah and gets these other guys murdered. And so Absalom says the answer to fixing this problem is not justice, it's revenge, it's murder. And so it's interesting, you get not in one character, but in two characters, they are sort of affected by their father's sin in sort of different ways. Yeah.
This might be a little too psychological or maybe deeper than we even understand. But any thoughts on just like, why is it that generational sin happens? Why is it that we see, multiple generations kind of locked in the same sin patterns and habits? You get alcoholics or whatever, and it's just kind of, for 5 generations, we've had alcoholics or we've had whatever.
Well, certainly, like with things like that, I certainly think there's some physical components to that, or like some brain chemistry that has to, that for addiction. Like people are just more addictive. They're more prone to addiction than other people. Sure. On a physical level. But I also think one of the things I talked about in my sermon is like culture, right? And so in David's house, there were things that were off the table decision-wise. And then there were things that were on the table, just maybe not the best decision. And then there were things that were, probably celebrated, right? And so I think when you in your house or in your sphere of influence or whatever it is, right, from your parents, from your whoever raised you, right, from your friend group, there are these things that we think of. We know they're wrong, but they're still options. It's like it's still an option. It's we just went to a breastfeeding class. Me and Darcy did. I don't know if I can say that on the podcast, if I can say breast on the podcast, but here we are. I've now said it twice.
The damage is done.
But one of the things she talked about was she was like talking about drinking alcohol and the effect it has on breastfeeding. And she goes, and she said, I know for some people, not drinking alcohol and over the course of breastfeeding is not an option. And I looked at Darcy and I was like, for who? Like who? Like dude, you were just pregnant for 9 months. It's certainly not an option then.
Maybe she would say the same thing then.
Yeah, I would hope not. She's a doctor, but it's funny. It's like we've tricked ourselves, as a society into thinking not drinking for a year. That's not even realistic.
Yeah.
That's not an optional.
It's present.
And so we all do that for certain things in our lives, right? It's like being your kids being disrespectful to one another, right? Yeah. Like making jokes that tear one another down. I deal with this all the time in youth ministry, right? And they just think like, it's maybe not the best, but it's okay because it's fun.
Everybody does it too.
Everyone does it. It's funny. And I'm like, no, it's actually in this room, it's not an option to tear other people down. It's not an option to make fun of people. It's not an option to joke about people's abilities or appearances or whatever. And so, but we do that with all kinds of things, right? And so then it's like what you think is okay, maybe not the best, but okay. That's what you're going to teach other people. And so that's where you get these sort of like sin patterns intergenerationally. It's funny. One of the commentaries I read talked about there's a verse in the Old Testament where God says, "And I will punish sin to the 10th generation, the 7th generation." And the commentator says, this probably doesn't mean that the son is being punished for the sins of the father. What this probably means is that the son is just committing the same sins the father did. Yeah. And that this sin is just so invasive that it becomes habitual.
Because the culture of the family has Darcy uses this phrase a lot that things are, traits or whatever are more often caught than taught. Right. Yeah. So, the phrase, sometimes parents will say, don't do what I do what I say. Yeah. Right. And that never works because we're going to.
At least as kids. They may do it as kids, but when they grow up, they're going to do what you do.
Yeah.
Not what you said.
And so that culture you set. And so it's like I've been in situations where, we're trying to pull someone out of a generational sin and they want out of it, but they keep kind of falling back in old patterns. And it's like you got to remind people who get frustrated, like, why can't they change? It's like, well, they've grown up and this is all they've known.
Yeah.
Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, siblings, uncles, aunts, everyone, like this is just normal.
It's normal. Yeah.
And so you're trying to rewire someone's brain and personality and habits, and that just doesn't happen overnight.
When you think particularly about parents and kids, like kids, their brains are just sponges.
Yeah.
From 1 years old to 12, And so really like whatever situation you are raised in creates a proclivity for certain things that it's really hard to bring you out of, especially if you're late 20s, 30s, 40s, right? All these things you knew as normal, you're learning for the first time are not.
Right.
They're actually off limits.
Yeah.
It's like, that's really hard.
Oh, yeah. Because it's not just like a decision you make, I'm just going to not do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in who you are. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So you talked about like not in this idea of culture, right? Not celebrating sin, right? You talked about like, we should celebrate the good things and definitely don't celebrate sin, but we do, right? There are certain times and places, homes, organizations, whatever. And so I want to kind of start with the extreme and then kind of funnel down to
Mhm.
like ways we maybe unintentionally or don't even realize we do it. So where do you see in culture and home, wherever, whatever stage you want, where do you see examples of just blatant celebration of sin?
Um, you know, it's funny, like even on just a name level, like pride parades,
Yeah.
forgetting what they're even about, right?
Yeah.
Just take it on name. It's like that'd be like lust parades, greed parades,
Yeah.
like take out like the sexual part.
Yeah.
It's like even in the name itself, there's like this idea. It's like being proud is not good,
Right.
and so but then obviously you add this what we're proud of is our sexual debauchery.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's the obvious answer.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not just that this thing is neutral, it's actually good. I think you see the same thing on the left with abortion, right? It's like abortion's no longer, like Bill Clinton said, a necessary evil. We want them safer and legal. It's like, no, this is a great decision that women can make for themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not just neutral, it's good. And so I think those are the two main examples. You see, I don't even want to just say homosexual lifestyles. I think, obviously, like get like, more heteronormative, lifestyles that are outside of what God has said about having sex before you're married, living together before you're married, things like that are celebrated.
Oh, look at them moving in together, and that's so sweet.
That's so sweet. They're taking their relationship so seriously.
Yeah.
They're taking it to the next
They're
level.
so grown up.
Yeah. No, it's bad. Yeah.
Don't do it. Get married.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think one of the places we see it celebrated that's like jarring is when the church does it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You have the United Methodist Church, some
for sure.
Episcopal churches, different things that they've got the rainbow flag out front.
Dude, I was just about to say, isn't it crazy to think for like 10 years ago that we'd be driving past like churches with rainbow flags down in front of them?
Oh yeah, and so it's like just the like just dissonance between those two things. It's like, what is happening? How is this church just openly celebrating what is obviously sinful? So that's some of the blatant ways, and it's like when you do that, that's going to have consequences downstream.
Oh, 100%.
Right. But what are some ways, let me go the other extreme. So the other extreme that I was kind of thinking about is like this very legalistic, fundamentalistic way of like, hey, we got to take sin seriously, right? We got to make, you got that very fundamental church where, all the women got big long skirts on and long hair and we can't wear a baseball hat in church, right? You just kind of start making up all these rules, right? And so like that's a problem. Anything you like just see in that's like, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to say the other extreme too.
Well, yeah, no, I think legalism is a sin, right? Like adding, like the final commands of the Bible are, don't add words to this book.
Yeah.
And then we just do it like I do it all the time, right? Like I just cause I'm a very black and white person. Like it's hard for me to live in the morally gray sometimes. And so I'm like, no, what's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. And so, but it's like a lot of times what that lends itself to is making rules that are actually not rules. And you just gotta like Jesus' entire ministry was not actually working against, people who were more like celebrating sexual sin or whatever, like the hot button sins of the day. Like the majority of his ministry was trying to pull people out of legalism.
Yeah.
Like, and opposing the legalists. And so I think there's a real danger, especially for like religious folk, people that go to church every week or every other week or whatever, to be, they're more prone to legalism probably than they are to like just what's the word, debauchery, right?
Yeah. And that has its own dangers and its own consequences of the culture you set.
Yeah.
Right. Like
oh yeah. You got so I know so many guys who were raised in homes that were so legalistic about things like dating relationships or drinking that what they learned was actually that they have to do those things in private. And so what it turned into is pornography addictions and dating girls like in secret and hooking up with them in secret and like just never telling their parents.
Yeah.
Drinking in secret, which is never a good thing.
Yeah.
Because then you just drink more and more and more. And so now they're alcoholics. They're just getting drunk all the time. And so like there are really, really bad, specifically for kids growing up in legalism.
Yeah.
Really, really dangerous things, repercussions that come out of that. Specifically just a fear of their parents, right? It's like they grow up in this merit-based home. And so it actually just makes them shameful and hide all this stuff rather than building sort of like a vulnerability and honesty.
Yeah. And also I think they often reject the faith because they never saw the beauty in it. They just saw all the restrictions in it.
It was used as a tool for good behavior, not for actual like gospel transformation.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the two extremes. But in the middle, there's also this dangerous place, right? Where maybe there are subtle, smaller sins or culturally accepted sins or white sins that we kind of celebrate or we tolerate and don't say anything. Yeah. And those also create a culture and create some problems. So what maybe are some of those that come to mind?
I think, gosh, there's so many. Like, I think gossip is a sin we're all kind of cool with. Like we're all pretty okay to be in everyone else's business. Now we don't know anyone in our business.
Yeah.
But I think we're pretty okay with like cutting it up about someone else, like when they're not around. Yeah. You know, I think I'm pretty guilty of that. I think a lot of people are, and we just don't see it's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. Oh well. But then what happens is, you've got other people around you. You've got, you know, like so I was talking with someone about this. That's like, I mentioned how you're like, your D group has a culture. Your Sunday school class has a culture, right? And so I was thinking about when there's someone new at my D group, if all we did the whole time was talk about other people's business, does that person that's new be like, if before I was here, did they ever do that with me? Like, or if I'm ever not here, are they going to do that with me?
Yeah.
But then what they're going to do is they're going to be like, okay, so to assimilate, to fit in, to be part of the culture, that's how we're going to talk. And then, so then what you have done is now lured this person into sin, right? By setting a culture where like gossip is like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing is anytime you elevate people that are unrepentant, that are, you know, just like openly sin loving people, what you're telling the world is we actually don't care about those kind of sins. You know, it's like I think about this guy that just got elected in Virginia who was caught like sending texts like wishing death to his political opponents and their families or whatever, and he won. So what that tells everyone, what that tells the nation, the state of Virginia and the nation is, yeah, it's actually a bigger deal that I agree with you politically than it is that you send text wishing death on children. And so it's like, that's built a culture, right? We've made sins that are palatable. Yeah. Right. And so it's like, it's actually not that big a deal to wish death
power
on,
matters more than morality.
Yeah. And maybe not even power, but just like, yeah, he's bad, but that guy's worse. Like that dude's political, even if they're not sins, right? It's like that dude's political ideology is so dangerous that I've got to vote for this person who's actually an unrepentant sinner. Yeah. And what that tells, especially like voting for someone, that's a little more complicated, but especially like celebrating people who are sinful is telling the world and telling the people in your vicinity, yeah, we don't really think these sins are that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So
that's good. So two extremes we got to watch out for, and also in the middle, the very subtle things we got to be careful of. Okay, so this may be an obvious question, but I just want to touch on it.
There are no obvious questions.
Okay.
Only obvious people.
Why is it so hard to confront this sin? You know, because David doesn't confront his son. Yeah. Why is it so hard to confront it and so much easier to tolerate it?
I wish I would have had time to talk about this because I actually think it'd be super helpful, particularly for dads.
Yeah.
But I think one of two things is going on in David. One, he's like, he doesn't want the fight.
Yeah.
He's like, gosh, me and Absalom, we really don't get along anyway. Like, I don't really want to go through all this. There's maybe like a level of exhaustion or like a level of, I want my son to love me. I want my son to like me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not gonna open this can of worms because I don't want to deal with like the relational fallout.
Yeah.
But the other thing, which I think is more likely, I'm speculating at this point, but I think this is more human nature, is I think David probably is like, who am I to go confront my son over his sexual sin? Because I'm sexually broken.
Yeah.
I've committed all the sexual
I think you're
sin.
right about that one.
And so so who am I to go? I've got no place. I've got no moral authority to go tell him because I already screwed it up too bad.
Yeah.
I already screwed up getting Uriah killed. Who am I to go stop Absalom from committing the same thing I did? And so just thinking that because you've sinned in any specific way, you've lost the moral weight or the moral authority to go confront someone else's sin, particularly someone who's close to you.
Yeah. I've heard parents say that a lot when their kids start having sex. And they're like, well,
I did it.
I did it when I was 16. I can't tell them not to. And I want to say to them, it's like, well, because you did it, you actually have the knowledge now of why it was bad. And so you can tell them from your experience, hey, don't make the same mistake I did.
Yeah. Or it's like, imagine if your kids said that to you in any other situation, you would not care.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to teach my kids not to text and drive. Like, don't text and drive.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, well, Dad, did you ever text and drive? I'm like, yeah, I did. And it was bad. Okay. Trust me on this. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, I did do that. And it was bad. It was hurtful. It was harmful to me.
Yeah.
It was dangerous for me. I was playing a dangerous game.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what you're saying is like, take it from me as wisdom.
Right.
It actually doesn't disqualify me. It actually qualifies me.
Right. I've definitely never texted and drove, so I won't have that problem.
Have you ever texted and driven?
Maybe. Okay, you talked about casual Christianity. What does casual Christianity look like in real life, and why is it so dangerous?
Well, what does it look like? If a camera crew followed you Monday to Saturday.
Yeah.
So they're off on Sundays, Monday to Saturday. What would be the things that they captured? What were the things that you valued? What were the things that you spent your time talking about? What were the things that you spent your time doing?
Could someone who watched that film know you were a Christian?
Yeah. It's like, even if especially if all the logos were on your clothes were blurred out. Right. I think some people think it's like, yeah, but I wear like my church T-shirt and I wear my Christian T-shirt, so I'm good, right?
My Christian
my Christian bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so I think I'm good. And so, in a lot of ways, casual Christianity is kind of pharisaical in being a whitewashed tomb. On the outside, you may look the part, but then when you dissect your life on a minute by minute, moment by moment level, you just live like the world. But then on Sundays, you're there, you're raising your hands, you're
giving,
you're studying your Bible, right? But on Monday, you don't care what God's word says.
You don't even know what it says. You didn't read it.
You don't pray.
Yeah.
You don't put encouraging gospel truths in your ears, like if that's through sermons or songs or whatever, devotionals, whatever, and you don't, and especially for parents, and you don't expect any of that out of your kids, especially your professing kids. And so I think that's what it looks like.
Why is it so dangerous?
Well, one, because particularly in the context of the sermon, is the culture you're building is that, hey, here's what saves you: the bare minimum, going to church on Sunday, being a good person, being put together, being seen as kind or patient, but not actually ever being those things, right? It's like, oh, people, that's a good family. You're like, and then inside your house is just chaos, right? Like just anger and bitterness, right? So that's super dangerous because, one, it's super dangerous for you and everyone in the situation because you're playing two parts, and one of them's gonna, and it's always the one with less power that's gonna shatter. But also, it's not salvific. And so the thing I said in the sermon was, it's foolish to think that our casual Christianity is going to produce any gospel change in our kids. Like if they don't see the gospel actually changing your life, why would they expect it to change theirs? And so like here's the main way I think parents could lean into this, and it's apologize to your kids. to look your kids in the eye and say, hey, I sinned against you. I spoke to you in a way I shouldn't. I expected something out of you that I shouldn't. I whatever. And Jesus doesn't want me to treat you that way.
Yeah.
And Jesus would never treat you that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry that I did. Can you forgive me?
No, I think it's so good. I do that with my kids a lot, and I think it's one of the most powerful things.
Yeah.
In both of our lives, really, but really good.
Yeah. So I think that's why it's dangerous. But I think that's like, just let the gospel just like saturate in your home, you know, because then your kids aren't going to be, when they screw up, they're not going to be scared to tell you about it.
Yeah. That's good. I like it. All right. Let's see. We talked about culture. All right. Talk about, there was this line that one verse you talked about that talked about the sovereignty of God. It's like, and God, it's like, you got these two guys, they give two different plans.
Ahithophel.
Great name.
My dude.
They give two different plans to Absalom, and he picks the one that you wouldn't have thought he would have picked.
Yeah,
and there's this line, it's like, well, God determined that he's going to pick this plan because God wanted to bring harm to Absalom. So talk to me about the sovereignty of God and the story.
Yeah. I mentioned this I've probably mentioned this in several of my sermons, but one of my favorite things to do when I'm studying for a sermon or teaching youth or whatever is, if I were reading this for the first time, or if I was someone in the audience, this was being read to me, what would stand out to me? What would I feel like? Because it's like when you watch a movie for the first time, right? It's like you're on the ride, you're on the roller coaster, right? When you read a book for the first time, like I'm reading a book right now, book 3, the Andrew Peterson Wingfeather Saga.
So good. And
something major just happened, and I can't wait to get home and pick it up because I got to figure out what happened, what is going on, and so in this story, you don't really see, like, you hear God in chapter 12 give this really bad promise to David, and then you don't really hear, especially in relationship to the Absalom. There's some other kind of side stories going on, but specifically in relation to the Absalom situation, you don't really see God at all. He's not talked about. He's not mentioned by any of the characters. The author doesn't mention God doing anything. And so for 4 chapters, like since chapter 12, you've been reading all this horrible stuff going on for David, our main character, and then you get to this verse, and I said in the sermon, it's like a twist. It's like, oh, God has been working the whole time. Like through all of this, God's been working for one thing. It says the destruction of Absalom, which means the victory for David. And so what I wanted to point out in that is, in the very middle of your hardship, in the very middle of your trial, and I use the kintsugi illustration, right? The broken pottery. And when things feel most broken, when things feel most out of control, most chaotic, whatever, most sinful, like, you can trust that God is at work through those things. And it's like, I said when I was talking about the pottery, even when you're the one that does the breaking, right? Like, I spent the whole first 20 minutes of the sermon talking about how David had screwed up so much that it screwed up his entire family. And then in the middle of the story, we find out God is not working for those that have been, the effects of sin. God is working for David. Like, God's working for the good of David, for the victory of David. And so you may even be the person that blew up your life, that broke it, that you're carrying your life, it's fragile, and you tripped and dropped it, and it shattered. You're responsible for breaking it. That doesn't mean you're solely responsible for putting it back together.
Yeah,
because you actually can't. And so what God is doing for David, he's putting the pieces back together in a way that's going to bring him the most glory and be victorious for David. Yeah, that's really it.
That's good. That's good. You talked about this moment where David is leaning in, looking over the horizon, and longing to see his son.
Yeah,
come home,
standing between the gates.
And when you started talking about it, I was like, well, that's the prodigal son.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the father.
Exactly.
Father's sitting there waiting. And you also talked about.
And it's so sad because we know that story.
And we know how it ends.
And it's not how.
Yeah.
Like, the emotion of that moment really got to me in the sermon. I hadn't really ever, like, reading the story or going through my sermon, I had not gotten emotional like that. But standing up there delivering the sermon, I was like, I was there and I thought about the prodigal son, and I thought about the point I was going to make in a little bit, that it's like David sees this guy coming. He's like, oh, he's a good man. He's bringing good news. And then like the disappointment that crushes David. And so it's like, thank goodness the prodigal son doesn't end like that. We're terrible story.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so talk about that. I mean, because you had the father aspect, but also you talked about this older brother aspect, which is also a prodigal son thing.
Yeah.
So talk about those two things, kind of how they relate.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking about David's like the dad, he's waiting for his son to come home, his prodigal son, Absalom, to come home. And so you kind of have that aspect, but you also have this older, younger brother motif kind of running through. And because Absalom in the story he's actually the prodigal son, but he's also actually the older brother in the prodigal son, and which ironically, so are we. We're often not the prodigal. We're the older brother. And so in all of Absalom's worst case scenarios, that's also where we find ourselves.
Yeah.
But, I just bumped the mic. But because Absalom, when his younger brother sins, his inclination is not justice. It's not grace. It's revenge. Like he should get what he deserves.
Yeah.
And so he kills him. He kills Amnon, which is kind of what the older brother and the prodigal son probably wants to do when the prodigal comes back and the father gives him the robe and the ring, and he's like, why are we throwing him a party? Like, why are we doing it? Like, he's mad. The older brother's mad, and because he's ticked that the younger brother is not getting what he deserves. He's getting grace. He's getting mercy, and so that's Absalom to Amnon is he's like, I'm gonna kill this dude. Like I'm gonna give him what he deserves, instead of like David to Absalom showing grace. So you kind of see that relationship, but then also you throw, so when we're in the mix, right? Who are we in the story? Well, sometimes we're the prodigal. A lot of times we're the older brother, but really, and God is the father, but really Jesus, it's like when we're adopted into God's family, Jesus is our older brother. And though we've sinned against him many, many times, he never treats us like Absalom treats Amnon. He's never like, oh, I just want them to get what they deserve. I just want them to, I just want to kill them. Like, Jesus doesn't say that to us. But he does say that I've provided the robe and the ring for them. And so whereas Absalom killed his brother, our older brother died on our behalf. And so you sort of have this like, when you invert a photo, it's like all the blacks become whites become blacks and stuff. It's like Absalom, you invert Absalom, and it's like you get Jesus, right? Which is ironic because you have this Christological picture which we may talk about in a second, of Absalom hanging in the tree, right? It's like it's very clearly a Christological picture. A prince hanging on a tree, impaled in the side, dead. But he's like the worst character in the Bible. It's like, why do we get this Christological picture of this villain? Yeah. Well, it's because it's you. It's like, this is what you should be. Like, you should be the one hung in the tree. Yeah. But it's Jesus on your behalf.
Sometimes in theological circles, we'll talk about that. We talk about typology, right? And so we talk about people are types of Christ, but then you also have like antitypes.
Yeah. And that's what this is.
Yeah. So it's like Jonah.
Yeah, Jonah, antitype. Yeah, perfect example.
So
what I love about another antitype kind of thing about Absalom, that Jonah kind of inverts. It's like a pro antitype, that he's in the belly of the whale for 3 days and then he comes out. Yeah. It talks about how Absalom gets buried. It's like they just bury him in this pit and cover it up, and no one knows where it is. They're just like forgotten about. Yeah. And the only reason that they know is it talks about he sets up this monument for himself, but before he died. But he's not buried there. He's buried in some pit somewhere we don't even know. And it makes a point to say that, where he's buried. Yeah. And it's like, why? It's because he's this antitype of Jesus who gets hung on a tree, killed, thrown in a pit, but he doesn't stay there. And he comes out. And so it's just this another antitype of Absalom.
So any other gospel connections to point out?
Well, he's riding on, so the mule, obviously, he comes riding in on a donkey. Yeah. And then gets gets caught on the tree.
Yeah.
But we think about mules like as sort of like lower animals, but they're actually like royal mounts in Israel.
Oh.
Like that's why he's riding on a mule. It's like his royal mount is a mule. And so he comes riding in on a mule and gets hung on a tree. There is this. I think this is a bit of a reach, but it's a great image because it doesn't say he's caught by his hair, but you can imagine.
Yeah.
And so, what would that create on his head? Like
a crown of thorns.
Yeah, like the branches wrapped around his head. Yeah. And so he's beaten by soldiers. He's stabbed. So, I mean,
hung between heaven and earth.
Oh yeah, obviously, right? Like he's suspended between. So there's this idea that they're both between. David and Absalom are both between something.
Yeah.
Right. David is waiting between the gates. Like there's this idea that's like he could go out or he could go back in. Right. He's between something. And then there's this great verse, right? That Absalom was hung not just on a tree, but between heaven and earth. And that's what Jesus. When Jesus went on the cross, that's what he was. He was hung. Not just. It wasn't just any old crucifixion. No, the weight, the future of the world hung in this moment between heaven and earth. The bridge between heaven and earth was being, the veil is being torn. The bridge is being built, through the crucifixion. That's so good. It's like, honestly, that verse, it's like, I can't remember what it is. Maybe 19, verse 19, chapter 18. It's like probably my favorite verse in 1st or 2nd Samuel. It's so good.
That is good.
And I feel like a hipster when people are like, what's your favorite David story? And I'm like, probably Absalom's rebellion. And they're like, I don't even know what that is. I'm like, let me tell you.
So in this, you have this theme about, parents with wayward children. Right? You got David here with this child who's not following Yahweh the way he is or wants him to.
Or at all.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be real.
And a lot of parents, try to do everything right, try to have good culture in their home, brought their kids to church, taught them all the things, and yet still are rebelling and not holding to the faith that their parents hold to. And you said this thing that I thought was helpful. It's just like one of the things that David shows us, even after his sons died, and he says, I wish I could have died in his place, right? Another Christological connection there. But just that it's right for you to just love them.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things about that line is what I pointed out, the repetition of
my son.
Absalom's name, but the primary way David related to and identified to Absalom, even up until the very end, was as his son. Like I talked about the Hebrew thing, we say God is holy, holy, holy because there's nothing like him. He's perfectly holy. Even though the word holy already means that. He's not just holy. He's not just holy, holy. He's holy, holy, holy. So how much did David think of Absalom as his son when he said it 5 times? My son, my son, my son, my son, my son. And so what I wanted to, because I know there are people in our church in that situation, what I wanted to say is, look, the Bible doesn't forget about you. God didn't forget about you. He knows everyone who has ever gone through a situation like this, and he knows everyone who will. And here's the picture he gives of a father whose son has rebelled in every way. Like, there are probably a lot of bad situations in our church. I'm not sure that any are this bad.
Yeah, sure.
like I'm hiring mercenaries to kill my parents. That's pretty much what Absalom's doing. And even in that, David primarily identifies him as his son and wants the best for him.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I'd have lost. Like, because if David dies, that's the battle, right? Like, Absalom becomes king. Like, that's the end game. It's over. And that's what he wants. That's what I want for him. I wish I could have died. I wish you would have been victorious. And so, I think the encouragement is never forget your wayward children are just that, your children, right? They're not your enemy. They're not your adversary. They're your child. And then also it's like, it's okay to allow yourself to want the best for them, right? Now, obviously what you think is the best for them is different than what they're going to say the best for them is.
Yeah.
But allow yourself to cherish. That's the language I used in the sermon. Like, allow yourself to cherish them. even in their waywardness, even in their rebellion.
Yep. That's good. Final thoughts?
Read these chapters through, because there's too much good stuff. Like David getting tricked again with a story that's actually about him. That's so funny. That's hilarious. Like, I just can't even imagine the moment where
he's like, dang it, again.
This woman's like, I'm talking about your son. And he's like, come on. I'm never letting anyone tell me a story again. Before you tell me the story, is this a parable about me?
Absolutely.
That's my last. Go read chapters 12 through 18, because I obviously didn't read very much of it. I had to paraphrase all of it. So
that's good.
13 through 18.
That's good. Enjoyed it. Hey, thanks for joining us for the recap. We hope this conversation has encouraged you to keep striving to make Jesus essential in every aspect of your life. If you aren't a part of our church family, we'd love to meet you on Sunday morning. We gather together for worship at 10:30 a.m. For more information, you can go to myfellowship.church. Be blessed.
Thanks for listening.